Welcome learners, welcome to a new module called the new product development module. It's part of the entrepreneurship course that all of you have been participating in, which is called the Foundations of Entrepreneurship. I have divided this course into modules, and under modules there are multiple lessons. So far we have done a few modules which are around what it entails to be an entrepreneur. We have taken time understanding innovation, entrepreneurship, problems, opportunities and ideas, which is really the starting point of where entrepreneurship and innovation start from. We then did a fairly intensive module called the customer value proposition. And at the end of the customer value proposition, we did customer discovery, which is how do you go about figuring out what is it that the customer wants, what delivers value and how can it be written out or stated or drawn. So, the customer value proposition was either in verbal form or it was in text form or it was in a image visual kind of form. Yeah. So, having arrived at what is a good differentiated superior to competition customer value proposition for a defined set of customers, we are now going to work on how to develop the product or the solution for the problem that we have identified and the solution that we have come up with under the CVP process. So, this lesson focuses on how do we go from the concept into a double click, which we call benefit, into another double click, which we call features. So, how do we break down this large concept into relevant benefits for the customer and within that features in our product which will deliver those benefits to the customer. So, that is the purpose of today's lesson, which is how do we go from concepts to benefits and features. So, here is a picture from the internet. It's just a scan of a category that I was browsing, and I said let me put this out for my learners to see. And my question for you, take a minute, think about it, is this how we buy? So, there are multiple words written there. It says internal memory, it says screen size, it says processor speed, it says RAM, it says number of cores and it says battery capacity. And it almost suggests that as consumers we will look at these and say, oh, I want so much of this and I want so much of this and I want so much of this, and this is how we buy. Fortunately or unfortunately, this is not how we buy at all. We may compare products using this, but this is not how we buy, and therefore, this is not how we as entrepreneurs will create our products, right. So, we will start from the customer value proposition, which is a bundle of needs and benefits. It started with a problem, it went into customer discovery, understood the right target audience for our problem or thought or idea, and developed a customer value proposition. In Hindi, the word proposition is called prastav, which means putting it forth to the customer, laying it out in a manner that people can read and understand. I will come back later in my marketing module and explain this concentric circles, these golas, which straddle consumer needs, customer needs on one end, and what is it that the brand projects to cater to these needs. I have now introduced a word called brand, and I do not want to go into that in detail. So, suffice it to say that at this point of time, we are looking at the needs that customers have from the product, and we call them functional needs for argument's sake at this point, and say that we are going to move from the nice customer value proposition that we had developed into the benefits, functional, emotional benefits that customers are looking for, and how can we design our product for those benefits. I will definitely come back and explain terminology which is written here called identity needs, emotive needs, symbology, social value, etc. For this moment, we are focusing on the outermost layer, which says customer needs as functional, and it says on the brand side, it talks about the product features. So, how do you say that we go from what the customer needs into developing the features of the product itself? That is the purpose of these concentric circles, and in the marketing class we will come back and understand identity and symbology and social values. So, here going back to the same customer value proposition, we had written this as a concept which was in words, and the format I had recommended. There are many ways of doing this. ऐसा नहीं कि एक ही method से होता है. There are many ways of writing a customer value proposition. I had shared with you 3 formats. One which is a slightly full of words format. I had done one which I had called the elevator pitch, where it is something that you can speak very quickly in about 60 seconds or 30 seconds or so, and I had shown you one which is a visual format. The visual format was for a chocolate product that I was talking about then. It was very visual and it had a little bit of text. On the contrary, the one that I am using today to depict how do you go from concept to benefits to features, I have used the word format, which is uses an insight. Insights are what customers feel, and that is what we go and dig and understand and understand. If all companies have the same insight, it won't work for us. So, we have to find an insight as entrepreneurs, as founders, which other people have not figured out yet, and that is what insight means. It means it is hiding in sight. It is there, but it is hidden for everybody else, and only we have dug this out. सिर्फ हमने ये खोज के निकाला है, other people haven't found this out yet, and therefore it is insight, but it's hidden for everybody else. So, insight, what is the functional benefit offered to the customer, what is the emotional benefit offered to the customer, and sometimes for the functional benefit, the customer wants to know how is it that this benefit can be offered by you. आप कह रहे हो कि your television will have this kind of resolution and that kind of sound. Please explain what have you done in your technology that it offers the kind of resolution that you are talking about, or the kind of sound quality that, let us say, the television is talking about. So, that in our parlance is called reason to believe. So, a functional benefit is very often followed by a reason to believe. It is almost like they are together. We offer this functional benefit because our product has this, this and this. That is what reason to believe is. So, it starts with an insight, goes to a functional benefit, and then ends with an emotional benefit. I use a word called payoff, and I will share that with you in the next slide, where I have used the same example that I had used earlier in our customer value proposition lesson. So, here is the one that we had used earlier. This is an insight. Many of us feel this, that I want to eat between meals. I am not this 2 times a day or 3 times a day breakfast, lunch and dinner kind of person. I would rather snack more times than eat big heavy meals, but I find that snacking in between meals is difficult for me because I cannot make the healthy choice when it comes to snacking. Almost every product that I find which caters to this snacking need is an unhealthy product. In fact, so much so that many customers, when I was doing my research for a company I used to work in which sold food products, would tell us that healthy and snacking do not go together at all. It is almost like the English word for it is oxymoron, which is if you say healthy snacking, it feels like कुछ दो contradictory चीज़ों को आपने साथ में डाला है. So, how can you call something a healthy snack? Snacking by definition is unhealthy, not necessarily true, and therefore the insight for this customer is, I love to eat many times a day, I would rather eat smaller meals than eat 3 big meals, but it is difficult for me to snack between meals because I do not find healthy options at all. Yeah? So, that is the insight that we figured by talking to customers during our customer discovery. We then went and said, this is the functional need that our product can offer. Just the name XYZ, XYZ crackers. Crackers are a type of biscuit. are a tasty and healthy way to snack between meals. So, when you talk about biscuits, customers don't need to be told that they are tasty. They do know they are tasty. So, we need to build the promise of why we are saying they are healthy. For tasty, we don't need to really build, although there are some categories where you need to build the taste dimension. Here we needed to build the health dimension. So, what did we do? We said they are made with the simple goodness of carefully selected ingredients. Wheat comes from these kind of fields in this part of the country. We add barely any sugar to this product, and we have 8 essential vitamins and minerals. So, people like the customers that we were talking to figured that our product is healthy because of the quality of the ingredients that is being chosen and the additives that we are putting in, which is 8 vitamins and minerals, which could be vitamin A, B12, calcium, whatever they might be. Yeah? So, this was the reason to believe. The functional benefit that we needed to boost was the dimension of health, not the dimension of taste. And the reason to believe you can see out here. And what is the emotional benefit for the customer? The emotional benefit for the customer is it allows me to feel good about snacking. It allows me to not feel guilty about snacking. I snack and I don't feel bad about it. So, the payoff is just the same word, but at the end of the day, if the customer had to remember one thing about XYZ crackers, it would be this, which is feel good about snacking. Feel good about snacking with XYZ crackers. So, that is just the emotional benefit said in a more tighter form. If I had to get my customers to remember my product for one thing, it would be the payoff. Not necessarily the functional benefit, but the emotional benefit that comes with using, eating, leveraging the product that we offer. So, again there was an insight that the customer was not happy about snacking. The functional benefit that we offered was we gave you crackers which had both health and taste, and we know from all the work that we have done with customers that the biscuit category enjoys with customers in their mind a space that it is a tasty category. So, we did not have to tell you why it is tasty, we needed to tell you why it was healthy, and therefore, we added a line which was about the carefully selected ingredients and about the 8 vitamins and minerals that have been added into this product. And the emotional benefit therefore was XYZ crackers allows me to feel good about snacking. The 2-word payoff or the 3-word payoff is feel good snacking. Yeah? So, this is the concept that we started with, and from here we now want to go to the benefits, because we design a product for the benefits. Actually, more than the benefits, we design a product for the features. So, in this rest of the lesson, we have already started with concept, we have understood what functional and emotional benefits are. I might detail it a little more, but at the end of this lesson, you will understand what features are, because that is how products are designed. Products are designed for a combination of features which offer some benefits. So, again some examples of functional benefits. First one says saves money, saves time, saves effort. So, the food delivery apps, and I use a lot of food delivery apps, I think I use them for all the 3 reasons. It definitely saves time, it saves me a lot of effort in the kitchen, and it also saves money. Believe it or not, if we had all gone out to a restaurant to eat, probably we would have ordered more than we order when it comes home. The time taken, the cost of travel, the cost of the time, all of that makes me believe that food delivery apps are not just saving me effort, they are saving me time and they are saving me money. So, I mean, why should I not do more and more of it? And I end up doing more and more of it. And one day I realize that probably that's not the most healthy kind of food, but from this trifecta, from this all 3 dimensions, which is time and cost and effort, I think food delivery apps and other such quick commerce and apps that make my life easier certainly work on all of these functional benefits. Sensory appeal, which is taste, is a functional benefit. There is arguments on whether taste and fragrance is a sensory appeal. When I look at something beautiful, there is a sensory appeal to that. Are those functional? Are those emotional? I'm not nitpicking on any of them, but taste is so basic that we call that a functional need. There are other products, and you would know many of them, products or digital products which provide information, they help us organize our lives, and they help us connect. These are just examples. These are not the entire bucket of functional benefits that might be possible. These are some examples of functional benefits. I am now going to move to emotional benefits. So, sensory appeal. The sensory appeal of eating, of smelling, of seeing something beautiful. The emotional benefit is aesthetics, appreciation of beauty, something that appealed to my senses, design, aesthetics, user experience. There are some apps that you use which you love, and there are other apps that you use, but you are like, oh God, I wish there was a better user experience. It's called the user interface or the user experience, and computer scientists and computer engineers call it UI UX, and many of you will be familiar with that. But as customers, all of us are familiar with the customer experience. When we go to some shops, we feel that we have not been treated well at all. Yeah, so when we go to some shops, they make us feel like we are the kings and the queens, and they are, showing the sari shops are like that. You walk into a sari shop and you will feel like you are the princess, you are the queen, and that salesperson wants to show you at least 100 saris before they will make a sale to you of one sari. So that is the feeling of being treated well, of a great customer experience. In a digital form, there are some apps in which you need to, go through maybe 5-6 clicks before you check out. There are some other apps which you can check out in 2 clicks, and trust us, we all like the idea of 2 clicks and check out. And how does that happen? That happens because the user experience has been developed in a manner that it has saved what you usually do. You do this, then you do this, and then you check out. So it skips some intermediary steps, does not ask you all these 300 questions, and says, hello, pick what you want and get out and pay. That's it. So some of us value convenience and time and the simplicity of the user experience more than being asked a set of 7-8 questions. So that's design, aesthetics, visual appeal, and user experience. Provides a sense of belongingness and community. And many of us like our social media apps for exactly that reason, which is you feel connected. All of us, no matter what your age is, if you are using, you could be 18, but you are connected with your school friends. You are connected with people you knew in your mohalla, in your neighborhood, friends who were your neighbors, who you played cricket on the streets with, or you gossiped with, or you hung out and just had chai together or had a cold drink together with. We know all of them in social media groups. Social media groups can sometimes be a little much, but we are connected because of the social media apps that all of us are using, and it creates a sense of community. In fact, I don't know if some of you are on groups like this, but there are many groups where I'm on groups which are brought together by a cause. They are not groups of friends or old friends or current friends or work team, or they're those also, but I'm on a few groups where we support a cause. In COVID, many of us came together in different parts of the country to say, how can we organize an oxygen cylinder, an oxygen concentrator, masks or PPE or that kind of stuff. And it gave us both a purpose to life, and it also made us make friends with like-minded people. So that's an emotional benefit of having a community. There is an emotional benefit of badge value. I wear this sari because it says something about me. I wear an Apple Watch because it says something about me. So that is badge value. It is about status. I don't know if I said this in an earlier lesson, but I don't mind repeating. My students call esteem or status or badge value by a word which I really, really like, which is called flex. It's like flexing your muscles. It's like flexing. So I'm showing off, I'm flexing. I don't know if it comes from the flexing muscles that I'm talking about, but it is something that word has made me really, really resonate with me, which is stand out, have a badge value. The benefit of that product or that service is showing off, is esteem, is having arrived in life, is flexing. So functional benefits appeal to the left brain, which is logical, which is rational, which is what use is this product to me. So very, very, मेरे लिए क्या है इसमें, what's in it for me. That's what the functional benefit does. The emotional benefit makes us smile, makes us feel happy, makes us feel satisfied, gives us peace of mind. All of those are emotional benefits, and we'll come and look at some examples going forward. So I have first looked at B2C brands. B2C is business to consumer, where let's say you are a founder and you are making fashion clothes for 18-year-olds or for young people between the ages of 15 to 25, say. Yeah? That's a B2C brand. The first B stands for business, which is you. The C stands for consumer or end customer. You are selling to the end customer, 18 to 25-year-olds, say. Yeah? Here are some functional benefits that we can offer to end customers, end users, consumers as we may call them. We offer them saving time. We offer them saving money. We can offer them saving money, or we can offer them making more money. Both are functional needs, making more money. There are brands, investment brands, which talk about making more money. There are several products that tell you how they can save us money. Another functional benefit is the connections that we make. Yeah? Quality. Actually, I personally believe that quality is not benefit. I think quality is like table stakes कहते हैं, मतलब it's the bare minimum. Without quality, you cannot even have a conversation. So I don't see it as a functional benefit, but it is considered a base level functional benefit. The last image or icon, if you can understand, is the tongue hanging out. And why is the tongue hanging out? Because there is something which you can smell and you want to eat it. So the sensory appeal or taste is a functional benefit. What are perhaps some of the emotional benefits that customers or end users derive or get? उनको मिलता क्या है? Emotionally उनको मिलता क्या है? Those are the emotional benefits, and here are some of them. The first one is lovely. It has someone who's closed their eyes, is smiling, and you can see those three hearts, which is a very joyful, lovely, happy, joyous, loving place to be, and that's happiness. Happiness can come from great tasting food. Happiness can come from connections, from meeting an old friend, making a new friend. It can come from making money. It can come from saving time. For me, it comes more from, for me personally, it comes from meeting people. Yeah? So I meet people, I make connections, and the emotional benefit that I get out of it is happiness, like that face out there, eyes closed, wide smile, and just heart, heart, heart. Yeah? The second image is about success. Some of us, and we should, there is no judgment that one is better than the other. And sometimes we want happiness and sometimes we want success. We want happiness and success together, but sometimes we think that A is more important than the other, and there are no judgments on any of these. So some brands cater to our needs for success, and there are very often brands that make us more productive, more efficient, more knowledgeable. Those are the brands invested in our success. I'm sure many of you know educational brands that you have yourself perhaps used, continue to use today, which are about participating in your success. So the functional benefit is provides information, and the emotional benefit is helps me succeed. So that's the difference between a functional benefit and an emotional benefit. Provides information is a functional benefit, helps me succeed, participates in my success is an emotional benefit. The third icon is of fun, entertainment. It can come from a functional benefit, which is enjoying with my friends, entertainment, fun, design, aesthetic. The appeal of good sensory is a emotional benefit. I have taken time also to carve out the benefits which are for B2B brands or businesses. The first B stays the same, which is our company, your startup. So, the seller is the first B. Here the buyer, which is also a company. The buyer is not an end user like a student or a homemaker or a senior citizen. Here the buyer is also a company, the seller is also a company. So, think of many examples: cloud computing, selling me computers in my office, selling to me phone plans to my entire company together, internet services, but sold not to the end customer, but to be sold to the organization, which is called a B2B brand. So, here are some examples of functional benefits. See, saving money, saving time is true for everybody. So, even companies want to save time, even companies want to save money, companies also want to make more money. Information, it is a functional benefit. Quality, again like I said, quality is a base level functional benefit. Sales growth, helping me sell. How can companies help me sell? There are several companies that provide lead generation, better selling tools, customer funnel for selling. Those are brands that help companies with the selling, growing their sales. That is a functional benefit. Some of the corresponding emotional benefits are, so you will notice that fun and happiness or fun and joy have unfortunately gone out of my slide. There is that too, but there are more like responsibility, the responsibility of doing one's job well, the responsibility of taking care of 1,000 employees in this company. Success is the same whether it is an individual or it is for a company. Companies need to be trusted. Reputation and trust are very important to them. So, what is it that my brand can offer? An antivirus software, non-phishing software, all of which it helps your company build your trust and reputation. Building the network for an organization is always very important. So, the functional benefits and emotional benefits as a concept exist whether you are selling to the end user or you are selling to another company. Here is how benefits get broken up into features, and I have used the same XYZ cracker example. So, there were two benefits there, which was healthy and which was tasty, and just see how many different ways to be healthy, and I have just taken 4. If I had more time and more space on this chart, there have been 100 such things. It says gives me energy to function. That is one dimension of healthy. Another dimension of healthy is safe and hygienic food. The third one says it makes my diet balanced. A fourth one says it makes my bones strong. And brand XYZ crackers can choose any of these health benefits and then the feature will change. For example, if it says makes bones strong is the feature that the customer is looking for, then you will add calcium or you will add vitamin K or whatever is needed to make bones strong. If the immediate need that we want to talk about, the benefit that we want to talk about is gives instant energy or gives me all day energy, then the kind of specifications for the product will change. Safe and hygienic is like quality, it is the bare minimum that is required for any brand or company to be successful. I will now move to the other benefit, which is tasty. So, one dimension of tasty is often used by many snacking products. It says cannot eat just one, you eat it and you want to put the next one into your mouth. So, that is if that is what you want, then your product can't be very large. then your product individual pieces should be small so that you put in your mouth and you already pick up the next one. So that is how a feature is developed from the benefit that the customer is seeking. If the customer wants tasty food, ghar ke jaisa khana, that is a completely different. In ghar ke jaisa khana, you cannot build in variants which are some Mexican or I don't know, Italian or Ethiopian, because they are not mere ghar ka khana. That's the, I mean, they are ghar ka khana, but not what Indians call mere ghar ka khana. So that is how a feature or a specification is built from a benefit called taste like home, variety of flavors. If that's the benefit that the customer is asking for, then your ice cream will come in 23 flavors or 31 flavors as the case might be. This is a very specific feature example that I have taken, which is the last one, which says great aftertaste. There are some food items that you eat and then you say, abhi mujhe kuch nahi khana hai iske baad. I have eaten this, I don't want to spoil the taste in my mouth by putting something else after it, because the product I ate had wonderful aftertaste and I want to preserve it as long as possible. So if that is what your brand or your product wants, you will develop a feature such that as much as the first taste is important, the aftertaste is also important. So in this entire lesson, what I have tried to walk you all through is we started with a concept, we broke that concept into benefits, functional and emotional, and from there we are going to features, and as we go forward into the rest of the session, we will build from features into specifications. Here is a tech example, which is the core benefit of, let's say, a computer. So the middle core benefit is computer, getting the computer installation. Most senior citizens or most middle-aged people will want their computer set up for them. Not that it comes to me on a e-commerce delivery and I don't know what to do with it. I want it installed, meaning I'll want some of my apps installed, I'll want some antivirus installed, I'll want things transferred from my old machine to my new machine. That is the next layer, which is called installation, delivery, after sales. Credit is a financial feature. Post that is about how does it look. When I open that pack, how does it feel? Does it feel like, we often use this word like makhan jaisa feeling. I mean, it felt so wonderfully easy. So what are the styling, packaging? I mean, there are products for which, we preserve the packaging. And for other products, we just throw away the packaging. So that is what this is talking about, that there are so many layers in a product. And you and I as entrepreneurs, you and I as marketing, brand, product people have to design for each of these layers. And coming up in the future lessons is how products get designed. Thank you.